Welcome back to North of the Broad. I'm your host, Karen Wyman, coming to you from Baden of Buford. I'm joined this afternoon by Jim Denton from Carolina Sportscare. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here.
Yep.
I know that we're wrapping up the summer and we're rolling right into fall and then winter sports. And you must see a lot as we move from season to season with athletes coming off of one, moving to the other season.
You're right.
Certainly want to hear about what's available from you in Carolina Sportscare with regard to treating people who may have injuries and possibly preventing people from getting some injuries.
Yes. So right now we're headed into the fall, and with fall we cover all of the athletics for the local high schools. So we're seeing quite a bit of football injuries and your fall sport injuries. Winding down with the summers, you know, in the low country, we're a boating community.
We are.
Yeah, so just this past week, you know, I saw a gentleman that thought he was jumping into 5 or 6 foot of water when he was jumping into 5 or 6 inches of water. So he fractured his ankle. So, you know, we do see quite a bit of boating and water sports injuries throughout the summer, but as we're now going into the fall, we're seeing more sports-related injuries with high school football and some of the fall sports that we do.
Wow, so it runs the gamut, certainly.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So what can recreational athletes, or sort of those weekend warrior, what do they fail to incorporate into some of their athletic activities and routines that could prevent them from being injured?
It's, you know, with going out and running and going out and exercising, the last thing any one of us want to do is stretch. Right? I mean, you know, if you're looking, most of us have kids, we've got a busy schedule ahead of us, and so, you know, if we've got 20 or 30 minutes to go run, we're typically going to run for 20 or 30 minutes. And so we see that all the time, that people just don't incorporate stretching into their weekend warrior type activities. So flexibility, lack of flexibility is a big problem.
So definitely take time to do that, warm up, whether it's at 5 or 6 minutes before you go out there and do your activity and participate in cool down.
Yeah, and so that's oftentimes a bit of a misnomer. I mean, certainly if you're going to be doing something like tennis or basketball play, the warm-up and the stretching prior to is really important. But for most of us who go out and jog, or we're going to go out and cycle or something, you really don't need much of a warm-up because it's already warm outside, right? It's after you jog, it's after you cycle that you really need to incorporate the stretching, because your muscles will absolutely get tight if you go from running and then sit in your car and drive your car for 10 minutes.
Right, turn the air conditioning on in your car, certainly, right?
Yeah.
So what do the physical therapists in the outpatient setting specialize in?
Right, so, you know, second to none, it's musculoskeletal type injuries. So looking at weakness and looking at lack of flexibility of a certain joint, and then looking at what type of athletic activity that individual is doing it. And so we can really assess where they need to stretch, assess where they need to strengthen.
Yeah, strengthen those joints, and especially our knees and our hips. For those of us who still think we're weekend warriors.
Yeah, and oftentimes the injuries to our knees and injuries to our shoulders are a direct correlation to weakness in our core. So we've all heard the term core strengthening over the years, and truly I would say second to a lack of flexibility, a lack of core strength oftentimes ends up in injuries.
Got it. So you guys specialize in training camps or sessions for any of the local sports teams? I know that
we do.
Yeah, so football.
Yep, so each winter, just prior to the baseball season, we always do a preseason baseball clinic. And likewise for football, during the summer, we'll always do an off-season or preseason football training camp where we actually look at flexibility measurements, we look at strength measures, we look at high jump, long jump. We do pre-test, and then we put the kids through a 6-week program, and then we look at post-test as well, so we can see the improvements.
Certainly a lot to offer for people of all ages and ranges. Nice to see how involved you guys are in the community and lending that information and helpful tips to our student athletes. Do you guys offer a wellness or fitness program for individuals who may not necessarily need PT?
Absolutely, we do. So our wellness and fitness director is Ray Jones. He's also the head coach for Team Buford. So many people recognize Team Buford with C.J. Cummins, who's just a phenom of an Olympic weightlifter. So Ray Jones is an employee, and he works with us at Carolina Sportscare, and we've got a very active wellness program, and we're very proud of that, and it's our hope and desire that people of all ages work out somewhere, whether it be at Carolina Sportscare or the Omni or another, the YMCA.
Or the yoga studio.
Absolutely, yoga. So, yep, wellness is huge.
Great. So anything else you want to share with viewers out there before we wrap up our time together? Something that they may not be aware of, or some of the services that you offer at Carolina Sportscare?
Absolutely. So one thing I'd say is that if you're dealing with joint pain, if you're dealing with shoulder and knee pain, try your stretches, try the things that you know to do to see if that's going to help, but don't ignore it. So don't be that person that has some shoulder tendonitis and then 6 months later has a rotator cuff tear.
Yeah, so don't muscle through it, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you've got a problem, certainly go and see your orthopedic physician, get it checked out, and so that if there are things that you need to do with physical therapy, we can intervene.
Wonderful. So nice to meet you and have you be a guest this afternoon on North of the Rod. We so appreciate the valuable information that you bring to our viewers.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. We'll be right back with our next guest on North of the Rod.